Well, thank you everyone for joining. If you've joined us before, or if you're new, welcome. If you haven't joined us before, this is going to be a quick 30-minute format when we give you updates that we've now accumulated over the last 2 weeks. We are doing this class bi-weekly now, and we will send out, for the people that just joined, the presentation at the end of the call. So you don't have to worry about frantically taking notes or anything. But with that being said, also, if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat, and or we do have time allotted at the end for any questions. So with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into this and get started. So this is going to be a screenshot that I believe was taken Thursday night of last week. It was what everyone thought was going to be the doom and gloom, as the media likes to paint that picture quite often. They thought unemployment rates were going to be upwards of 20%, and the world was coming to an end, the same old story that we are used to hearing. But pleasantly surprised, we weren't anywhere close to that. We were more around the 13% mark, which is awesome. And then the stock market actually reacted very great to that. And I'm sure you guys have also been following that closely. We saw a huge jump, which was phenomenal for everyone. And stock market's not fully where we were pre-pandemic, but it's getting there. So that is also an option for the people such as like the retired people that count on that money to purchase a home. So moving forward, we are going to have this graph that the orange is going to be painting the new filings of unemployment numbers, and then the blue is going to be painting the people actually collecting money. This is going to be the updated graph from what we have shown before. And so if you start to look back in February, we were in the low threes of unemployment, which was awesome. March, we did jump up a little bit to about 4.4%. And then April, we jumped up to 14% unemployment. And then Friday's figures came out at 13.3% unemployment, like I did say. Yes, there are more people still applying, and which is, horrible to say, but the number of people actually collecting the people that actually qualify for all of the actual unemployment grants due to everything going on is actually steadily decreasing. We saw the spike, which was going to be May 9th, the week of May 9th, and we've actually seen a downward trend since then, and it's continuing that way. We believe it will still continue to go that way due to everything opening back up and more companies phasing employees back in. So hopping into this, the unemployment report, I want to start with the first line. It's going to be the total non-farm payroll that rose. Like I said, companies are phasing people back in. People are going back to work. Jobs were being created specifically from how and what happened and what we now considered our new normal. I'm sure everyone heard that Amazon hired an abundance of temporary workers, but then they made a statement about a month ago saying 75% of those temporary positions are now going to be permanent positions because they've seen such an uptick and they're changing how things are even being done themselves. So people are going back to work. That is great news. And like we said, it wasn't the surprise of the 20% that everyone of the 20% unemployment that everyone was expecting. So we are doing great, and everyone woke up with a very pleasant surprise on last Friday morning. This is going to be a report from CNBC that May had the biggest job surge since the Great Depression. So let's talk about where those jobs came from. But everyone liked to also compare what we're going through now to the Great Depression. But, as you guys have seen over the weeks through our presentations, they're vastly different. So that is also awesome, but it's great that we're seeing that big jump in numbers once again. But so looking where all the jobs are coming from, 2.5 million jobs were brought back, which is phenomenal. 1.4 of them came from the food, service, restaurant, bar industry. 464,000 of them came from construction. If you had joined in the weeks past, we talked about how there was a surge of people applying for permits and everything for construction, and we thought it would help the economy and the jobs, and it did come true. It came to fruition, and those people need to withhold all that and keep the economy going and keep their jobs moving. Education and health services are coming back, and we are seeing what we knew would take a little bit longer, retail, but they are still even figuring out their new normal and opening back up their stores, which is phenomenal. And you guys can go down the line and read the rest. The jobs we are seeing on the little bit of the slower side or still in the red are going to be those of the travel industry. So airlines and hotels and things like that. And that is to be expected because there still is the non-essential travel ban out. And so, people are attempting to follow that. But what is actually very exciting and curious to see how it plays out is Vegas has now opened back up, and they are allowing people back in their casinos and everything like that. Yes, it is with the new normal and slot machines being shut down and all of that, but it's still bringing back those jobs, and that being a huge tourist destination. Next month, we actually may see a jump in those numbers go into the positive. Looking at this, yes, 13.3% of the United States is unemployed right now, but we want you guys to remember that 87.7% of people are still employed. 80% of people can still buy a home and or sell a home without having any funding issues. So please don't let the doom and gloom, the news scare you away from that. One thing we have shown a little bit different, we've shown this graph in the past, and the thing that's changed the most is going to be the people who thought it was temporary versus permanent. Before, it was 9 out of every 10 people thought their job was the layoff was only temporary and that they were going to be brought back. And now it's down to about 73% of people. So 17% are thinking this is going to be a permanent layoff. So it's bad news, but like I did say, there are companies and new positions that have opened up new positions to help what I believe we're calling our new normal, and help aid to that. So I think we'll see the transition from those people that are permanently laid off transition into those new jobs. This is going to be a report talking about the 75% loss of jobs and how they were temporary versus permanent. And this is going to be from the employer standpoint. And so the previous one is actually going to be from the employee. And so it sounds like the numbers are matching up from 73 to 75%. So it looks like everyone's on the same page and we're moving in the right direction and things are finally starting to look up. So don't let the news fool you. But with all that being said, I know Kim's going to take it over from here.
All right. It is our job right now to clarify what's going on in the market and any misconceptions that any of our clients may have. So this is an updated graph showing the difference of the unemployment during the Great Depression versus now. If you see, the Great Depression was over 20, the unemployment in the Great Depression was over 20% over 4 years. And if you look at right now, we are at 13.3%. So as you can see, these projections going forward, if this trend continues, we will see some of these forecasts revised down even better. And I'm sure that that is something that we all want to see. So what were these projections? Looking at the next slide, you see that Goldman Sachs was predicting 21.5%. Steve Ratner was predicting the unemployment to be 20+%. Calculated risk 19.7%, and the Wall Street Journal at 19.5%. So we can definitely see that these unemployment rates are significantly under what projections have been, and that is certainly a good thing. So let's see what's going to happen this month, and we're definitely feeling hopeful that this trend will continue. Looking at this quote from Citizens Bank by Tony Bedekin, I'm going to read here saying, barring a second surge of COVID-19, the overall U.S. economy may have turned a corner, as evidenced by the surprise job gains today, even though it still remains to be seen exactly what the new normal will look like. So we'll definitely be keeping you up to date as information comes in and what the future looks like and what these job gains mean for the economy and housing, but definitely a lot of good info that we can get out into the market. According to Jason Furman, he's the Deputy Director of the National Economic Council during the Obama administration. What he is saying here is that you can 100% discount the possibility that Trump got to the BLS, not 98% discount, not 99.9% discount, but 100%. BLS has 2,400 career staff of enormous integrity and one political appointee with no scope to change this number. So according to Jason, we are to trust him in this. And I'm not looking at this as being politically motivated. So let's go and talk about what these miscalculations are and what they mean. So an explanation of a miscalculation, some people who should have been classified as quote unquote temporarily unemployed during the shutdown were instead misclassified as employed but absent for other reasons. And other reasons are usually people leaving to go on vacation, to serve on jury duty, or to take care of a sick child or a relative. So definitely not suggesting that you post this information other than to argue with what is going on within the report. So the explanation, so this situation started back in March. So if you want to look at the numbers both ways, here is a visual on the next slide to show you what this means. This will show you what it means so you can better understand. This is the unemployment rate showing what it was with or without the correction. So if you see in March, our unemployment rate was at 4.4%. And if you go back and make the correction, then we're at 5.4%. Then in April, our unemployment rate was at 14.7%. Go back and correct that, we're at 19.7%. And then if you see there in May, we just had 13.3%. So we need to remember that we went down 1.4%. So if we are going down in a correction, if we're going down in unemployment, we're also going down in a correction. So this just should give you a little bit better perspective, an idea of what's going on within the report. In this article from, or quote from the Wall Street Journal, it says, the May US jobless rate fell to 13.3% and employers added 2.5 million jobs, blowing Wall Street expectations out of the water. The economists had forecast a loss of 8.3 million jobs, and yet we gained 2.5 million jobs, and that is not up for debate. So we definitely want to get this information out as you talk to clients and they have concerns based on buying homes because of the unemployment. Next, we have a quote from Jason Furman, and he is a professor at Harvard University. And what he's saying here is that we are about to see the best economic data we've seen in the history of this country, because people go back to their original job, they get called back from furlough, you put the lights back on in your business, given how many people were furloughed and how many businesses were closed, you can get a big jump out of that and it will look like a V. So just like we've talked about before, as the pause button was pressed on the economy and as we turn from that and start bringing back the economy slowly, we are going to see some economic activity start to happen and people go back to their jobs. We will see what we have been saying all along. We will see a V shape, and we are already seeing that right now with purchase applications. And as you can see in this graph, purchase applications were going down around the first week of April, but since then, and every week since then, they have increased. And we are seeing that also with just the amount of people now that are showing up to go to open houses in the showing data, and also in the amount of people applying for loans to purchase a home.
Kim, if I can butt in really quickly, I know, guys, throughout this, we've always focused on knowing the macro view versus the micro view. So macro being the national, which is going to be what's on the screen, and the micro view is going to be what's actually going on in the Phoenix metropolitan area. So for those who didn't join the Tina Tambora class that we hosted earlier in the week, purchases are actually up 11% from this time last year. And then referencing the showing time data, today we actually are up 1.4% from this time last year in showings, but we are up 6.7% from pre-COVID or pre-pandemic numbers. So guys, we are still in that hot market. As we've said before, summer is going to be the new spring, so we didn't lose that selling time that everyone loves, you know, our prime season, as some people are calling it. So if people are still weary about those numbers, those are some great numbers to share with your clients, and we'll definitely be adding those to our follow-up notes after the meeting. So sorry, Kim, go ahead.
No worries. All good news. You can go on to the next slide then. And this is a quote from Black Knight, just saying that the number of mortgages in forbearance declined this week for the first time since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic. The number dropped to 4.73 million from 4.76 million in the prior week. And the mortgage data firm said, measured as a share, all mortgages forbearances dropped to 8.9% from 9% in the prior week, according to Black Knight. So this is the first week that we are seeing that drop there, and we will definitely keep an eye on that data as the economy is coming back. But like I said earlier, as we start to see the economy coming back, we're going to see improvement in the economic activity all around. And then looking here at this graph, you know, we've been hearing that we have been in a recession since February, and that's not new news for any of us. But before you panic, seeing home price changes during the last 5 recessions, I want to point out that in 3 of the last 5 recessions in the US, home prices actually appreciated. And even better news, the housing market going into 2020 was in a completely different place than it was in 2008. So a housing crisis is definitely not on the radar. So we need to definitely get this chart for our clients to make them feel at ease and to get away from that false fear narrative, that the doom and gloom that we're all hearing. We just want to make sure that we're out there educating our clients and posting it on our social media and picking up the phone and calling them. So that brings our presentation to a close. I don't see any questions in the chat. Does anyone have any questions about anything that we talked about? Nope. Well, like Taylor said, we will be sending you the slides from the presentation, and we'll also send you that showing time data. So you are more than welcome to use any of this information that we shared with you to share with your clients.
It looks like, let's see what came in the chat. No. And also, we have the slide up for a reason. We do have our social media handles on here. This is going to be our Instagram handles. So please be sure to follow us on Instagram and Facebook, as Kim and I are posting daily updates also, as we're seeing them come in, as things are constantly still changing. So if you guys want more day-to-day, up-to-date updates, please feel free to follow us on there and check our Instagram stories. If you ever have any questions, just always reach out to us. Our emails are also going to be on this page, and like we said earlier, anything we share with you guys on here and or social media, you are more than welcome to share with your sphere of influence, and it makes you guys look like the true experts that you are. So keep it up, and keep it up with the awesome numbers that you guys are bringing in. And we mentioned last week that, or excuse me, 2 weeks ago, that an average sale in Arizona brings $89,000 back into the local economy. So you guys are going to be one of the true drivers behind our local economy coming back up. So give yourself a nice pat on the back and keep it up. But I think with that being said, we are going to call it if no one has any other questions. And we will see you guys in 2 weeks.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye, guys.